Hey guys, it's Danny. So today I wanted to look at the Marshall Wilburn Gen 1 and the Marshall Wilburn Gen 2. Chances are if you're on this video, you're frustrated that there's not a lot of good videos on these speakers. Well, here we go. We can enjoy our own little specific niche of the audio world and talk about these speakers. So I won't waste your time right up front if you're just trying to figure out which one to buy. If you can find a Marshall Gen 1, I highly recommend getting one. They have a great sound. And they have some cool features on them that you can't find on the newer one. However, you're also totally just fine getting the Gen 2. Just realize it's a different sounding speaker, but it's still a high quality speaker. So I've owned both of these speakers for over 2 years, and I really like both of them. In fact, I actually have two of the Gen 1 and then just one of these bad boys. They do have some very distinct differences though. Essentially, what I think Sound Industries was doing with the first one is they were just kind of like figuring out how to make this market segment work where they could sell a beautiful giant Bluetooth speaker for the home. And with the second generation, they had kind of figured out what they were doing and they were just trying to streamline the process so they could streamline their profits. Essentially, what I really like about the Gen 1 though is because it has more controls on it, you have a little bit more ability to use it for custom purposes. For example, it has a power save on and off feature. If the feature is on, the speaker will only stay on for 20 minutes if there's no activity. If you turn it off, it'll stay off forever. It'll stay on forever. So if you have like an Echo device or a Google device, basically you can talk to your Google device through the speaker just by plugging it in through the 3.5 aux cord. Whereas with the Gen 2, it doesn't have anything like that. I'm guessing it just wasn't a popular feature or just they figured it wasn't worth the money. So unfortunately for the Gen 2s, you can't plug your Echo devices into them to use them. It just powers off after 20 minutes. It's really frustrating. For the Marshall Gen 1, you've got the RCA input and an optical input alongside with a 3.5 aux. Whereas with the Gen 2, you actually only have the 3.5 and the RCA. So record players, you're safe if you want to use the Gen 2. However, optical input people, I don't know who you are because I don't usually use optical if I don't have to, but I know it's like an important thing to you. Unfortunately, you need to stick with the Gen 1. One of the other distinct differences about these speakers is their Bluetooth capability. The Gen 1 has 4.0, whereas the Gen 2 has 5.0. 5.0 has like 4 times the range on it. It can carry a lot more data for the music. It doesn't necessarily mean it sounds better, but it can just carry more bit rates. You can also connect two of these speakers to your phone, not through the Marshall app, but just through the Bluetooth capability. You can listen to both speakers at the same time. Whether or not the sound will sync up perfectly, I'm not so certain. But you can do that, whereas with the Gen 1, you can only connect to one speaker at a time. So what was really getting me about these speakers, and kind of the reason I made this video, is because there's a significant difference in the sound between these two speakers. The Gen 1 to me sounds much warmer and just like a smoother sound overall, whereas the Gen 2 sounds a lot more like digital. So I decided I'd break them open and take a look inside and see what's going on. So they both have Class D amplifiers, which is a very standard amplifier. That's pretty much all you're going to see on most modern speakers nowadays. Anything else is going to be super expensive. Usually known to be kind of a cold signal, and you put an equalizer onto it to kind of warm up the sound later on. But aside from looking at like the circuit boards and the capacitors and the transformers and stuff I don't really know a lot about, the big thing I noticed with the construction was that the Gen 1 is pretty much all particle board inside, which is a great material for speakers. It's not expensive, it's not fancy, but it's really dense and it's easy to make these kinds of boxes with. Whereas the Gen 2 actually, I think, might have a more expensive material. It actually has a solid steel plate in the back and a solid steel plate in the front. The cotton was also distinctively different. In the Gen 1, they just literally throw a ball of cotton in there behind the ports. And on the Gen 2, they actually have this very neatly, seamlessly cut out 3-section piece of cotton that fits neatly over all the electronics in the ports. So they definitely improved their attention to detail on the second one. As far as sound quality goes, they're just like totally different kinds of speakers. The Gen 1 has like kind of this warm, inviting, milky tone to it that I prefer. Whereas the Gen 2 has a beautiful sound, but it's a lot cleaner sound and it's less warm and it's honestly, like the treble is probably a little bit more accurate on the Gen 2, but there's something about the Gen 1 that the way it interprets sound that I just really like. So anyways, let's take a listen to the speakers. Get your little listening boys on. Headphones are recommended. And I'll also try and throw in the Tufton and the Emberton just to compare. I will admit, after listening to all of them and getting kind of that immediate feedback, the Gen 1 at full volume sounds pretty similar to the Gen 2 actually when you're really pushing them, but I think the Gen 1 gets a little bit louder. I had like 50% volume and I had to put the Gen 2 at like 90% volume to match it, which is kind of weird. So obviously the Tufton and the Emberton, you can kind of hear the distinctive difference. Really not too bad. When you're really pushing the volume on all of them, they actually sound pretty good. Yeah, those are just some quick thoughts at the end of the video. So thanks for watching. So see you later. Bye.